it was a site of major tectonic deformation, and what you see in the four cross sections here are the distribution of a particular coal seam, the Big, which was unravelled as we excavated an open cast coal mine down to a depth of about 200 metres. The picture down here, I'm the chap in the orange, and the site manager is the chap in the yellow. That's one of my favourite pictures. It's a picture of the deepest point of Fosslas, 200 metres, and just here, you can't see it very well on the screen, but just there is a bucket of an excavator. We've just taken out the final piece of coal at that depth, and the bucket excavator is waiting to start backfilling the hole as quickly as possible, because all around us there's bits and pieces coming down. The slope's designed just at the factor of safety. So we got in there, got the coal out, took a picture, got out and started backfilling the hole again. At that point, that was the deepest excavation in Europe, in one of the most tectonically deformed, unpredictable set of ground conditions that you can imagine. We had 5,000 boreholes on that site, and every time we dug another 3 metres into the rock, we found very different ground conditions. Highly unpredictable, highly exciting, very controversial socially, because the people of South Wales didn't like surface mining. They wanted underground mining, because that's their history, that's their culture. Fosslas today is a race course. But just occasionally, for about 7 or 8 years, my worry was that the whole side of the coal mine would collapse, as indeed St Aidan's open cast coal site had done just outside Leeds, taking out an entire canal. So my fear was that the slopes that I had designed and the slopes I was responsible for would collapse and somebody would get killed. And just occasionally I wake up at 6:30 and I catch the news on Radio 4 and Fosslas will be mentioned, and my heart misses a beat. And then I realise it's simply the racing predictions and I can just ignore them and go back to sleep again. Anybody been to Carsington? Pleasant walk around the reservoir, you can go sailing on it, canoeing, great place to go to. Built in the 1980s, Britain has over a century of world-class dam engineering. Going back to the middle of the 19th century, if you go around Sheffield and look out on a map, you'll see lots of little reservoirs that were produced to supply the city of Sheffield and its various industries. And the same is true around Birmingham and Nottingham and so on. Carsington was a very boring dam, an earth embankment, a pile of dirt if you will, that was there to provide water for Severn Trent. They started constructing the dam, simple stuff, muck shifters and excavators and scrapers, nothing exciting, nothing sexy, nothing out of the world, nothing out of this world. And they'd almost finished building it when the thing failed. Major embarrassment to have a pile of dirt, one of the simplest types of construction, the sort of thing you would put into a new country because you know that the local engineering capability is very poor, but embankment dams are very forgiving. You build them in seismic zones because when an earthquake comes, the thing moves around a bit and then settles in a way that an arch dam or a gravity dam doesn't. They crack and fail. Carsington Dam failed. It failed because the geological model was wrong. It failed because the geologist who described the ground was more interested in the age of the material than its properties. A simple line on a cross-section was the death sentence for Carsington Embankment. The line was supposed to mark the boundary between superficial crud and solid bedrock. What it actually marked was the line between superficial deposits and geological materials of a certain age. The problem was that the uppermost metre or so of the ancient bedrock had been cryotubated, it had been frozen and shattered during one of the ice ages. So though geologically it was very old, from an engineering point of view, it behaved like a clay. They started building on top of this clay, which wasn't as strong as the parent bedrock. It was more deformable than the parent bedrock. It was more permeable than the parent bedrock. And how many of you guys are planning to go ice skating over Christmas? Are you any good at ice skating? No. Do you fall over a lot? See, I'm very bad at ice skating. I hang on to the side, so I don't tend to fall over. But if you slide on the ice, you'll fall over. They built a big pile of dirt on something that was effectively an ice rink, and the thing just slid and fell. They got the engineering geology wrong. Line on a cross-section, they asked the wrong question, they got the wrong answer, and the consequence was having to rebuild the embankment. Mount Tor in Derbyshire. Have you been there? Yeah? You know the story? Where are we? There's the road. When you look at it like that, and you begin to see the debris of the landslide and so on, you begin to appreciate that it wasn't really the smartest place to build a major arterial road. Because the landslide was only dozing. The big mass movement had happened, and the landslide is still moving by centimetres and tens of centimetres a year. So it wasn't a smart place to build a road. And eventually the engineers gave up and abandoned the road. And it's a great place to walk to. It's a great place to see the construction of a road, because you can see the stratigraphy of the road construction. It's a great place to go mountain biking. But it's not really a very good A road. Most cars don't like 1.5 or 2 metre drops in the tarmac. Got the strength wrong, got the processes wrong, and therefore the engineering ground interaction was not well enough understood. And as ever with these things, the ground won. Just in case you can't see it, the fault crater is here. Anybody been to the fault crater? Yeah? What took you to the fault crater? Do you live near that?
Not really very near it, but
no.
Just went to visit it.
And in a sentence, what would you tell your mates around you about it?
I don't know, I can't remember that.
No? It's a dirty, great big crater. It's about 80 metres deep and about maybe 250, 300 metres across. Site of an old gypsum mine that was used during the Second World War by the RAF, by the Royal Air Force, as a store for bombs. What happened in 1944 was that it exploded. Some 3,500 kilograms, 3.5 tons of explosives detonated, and